Everybody, thanks for watching. And just a quick reminder that Digital Self is now available. Make sure you guys check this one out. This is a very important video to watch, just to get you guys into more understanding about these vaccinations and what's going to be taking place, and the whole thing with the nanoparticles that they have mentioned on their site. Got into a little bit of a few debates about the nanoparticles. A lot of people didn't believe in them, but they are explaining what they are, and I think people need to understand what that is and what that means. Very important video. If you have taken the shot and if you plan on taking it, you need to understand what this is, what they're going to be doing going forward with this, and how it's definitely going to affect everybody. So make sure you guys see this video. Also, yeah, the app. So the Merkabah Academy app is now available on Android devices. It will be available soon on iOS, iPhones. Apple is real, they anal about their apps and what they allow in the App Store. So it's just a couple more things that got to get completed first before the iOS app is available. But definitely, if you have Android, it's available. If you've been on the site lately, you've seen the new update briefly. So the site is going to be completely redone soon. We did a test the other day. Some of you seen it, some of you didn't, but you see how cool it looks and how it's going to definitely bring everything together. So this again will be probably like the last week for the lifetime membership and lifetime digital downloads. Probably after this week that won't come back again because of how the site will change. So this will be your final chance to take advantage of it this week. So definitely do that if you want it. Also, new books coming up. Definitely a second version of my first book, the Self-Inflicted Religious Deception. Revised, definitely was a few errors in the book. A lot of people pointed them out, but we didn't really have time to really edit the book because of everything I explained to you guys what happened with that whole process. So second version's coming and 2 new books will follow. So a lot going on. Again, definitely get the app and get the update once the whole site is switched over. By the end of March it should be, but the app is definitely still worth getting now. Also, again, take advantage of the sale one more time, because I know a lot of people asked about was it still available, and it still is. Definitely the link is in the description, so take advantage of it. So again, I've received a lot of questions about the vaccinations, and I know a lot of people want to know what's going on as I put out the information. Yeah, of course, stuff doesn't make any sense. We all understand. Dr. Fauci coming on and basically saying that the vaccinations won't stop everything. You have 7 new strains. You have the UK strain as well as the South African and Brazilian strain. So you have these, 7 new strains in America. You have these 3 variants or what have you around the world, and they're saying that the vaccination is basically set to take care of one. And as I talk about in the video, how all that is bullshit and why that is in place. So you need to understand what's going on. But to get into this video, because what I'm going to try to start doing on Sundays, Saturdays or Sundays, is put out videos on the Bible, because a lot of people are asking for more updated content, which you really can't update too much. But there's still a large number of Christians out there and people just want information about what this stuff is all about. One of the biggest conversations I got into recently was about monotheism, and the Bible being, a monotheistic religion. And when you look at the definition of monotheism, it's the belief in one God, that there's only one God. So when you get into this whole thing as it entails with the Bible, you got to look at it, and you got to read it. And when you read the Bible, you got to ask yourself a question, how can you be monotheistic and believe in a religion that has one God when the God of your religion believed in other gods? So for Christians to be monotheistic in the Bible, or Christianity to be a monotheistic religion, the God of the Bible believed in other gods. I mean, that's one of the main points of the Old Testament, and what the whole conquering was about for the Hebrew Israelites was because these tribes believed in other gods. So we got to look at this whole thing. But one of the things you got to realize, and speaking to Christians and people who don't understand mindsets and, you know, developing your mind and understanding a different level of comprehension beyond what you have. See, you know you, and all you know is you, really. And a lot of people don't like to believe that they have been fooled or tricked, or that they don't know something that's really obvious. So a lot of people are not able to comprehend on certain levels because they don't allow themselves to, or because they haven't just basically done, you know, research to do so. So this whole thing is really just a matter of comprehending basic, you know, knowledge, common sense. And I know we use that a lot when it comes to the Bible and when we debating this whole thing, but it really is just understanding what is so basic in principle, as far as seeing something that says one thing and clearly seeing that it's not true. You know, it's, how can you deny that? So even when you try to have an intelligent conversation with a Christian, for you to deny 1 + 1 = 2, you know, how can we continue if that's your point, if that's what you want to believe in? There's no reason. So what would you say to a person that believes that? They're not intelligent. So you would leave the conversation. So in the Old Testament, you have the Hebrews going out. God sends them out, take back the promised land, the land that's supposed to be theirs. And through your journey, you're going to go and wipe people out and kill them because they worship other gods. Now, using this whole rationality thing, this happened before the Bible, supposedly. So where do we get the authority on worshiping one God and the authority on we should only worship this one God? Where do we get that from? We get that from Christianity. We have not been taught, as, you know, us here in America, or we don't know of any other religions where they taught that the God of Christianity says you're supposed to do this. There was no Bible back then. There was no doctrine. So to go and wipe people out for believing something or worshiping something that's supposed to not even exist doesn't make sense, if you understand what I'm saying. This is where that comprehension thing comes into play. So God, you know, what is that? And do we know if these people had an understanding of what that is, what God actually is? Because if you are to say, I'm Tim, are we supposed to, you know, think that there's only one Tim in existence where somebody else could be named Tim? So you have to think of what is one of one. You understand? There is only one Empire State Building, period. We know that. You got to go to New York to see it. That's the only one, period. You can see a replica, but everybody knows it's a replica. You can see a picture, a painting, so on and so forth. Everybody understands there's only one original. And this is what we know, that's common knowledge. So to say one God, this is the one and only, this is something that everybody would have to have common knowledge of to even comprehend in the first place. So God going out and having these people slaughtered for not worshiping him, how are they even to know who he is if he didn't present himself to them, if you understand? Now the Bible calls Satan the god of this world. So again, another god. So for a religion that's supposed to be monotheistic, there are a lot of talks of many different gods. Now you could say monotheistic in the sense that the believer believes in one God. You know, that there is one God. That's who you choose to believe in, just that one. And then you have God in the Bible saying, I am the one true God. But as I will show you, and as you already know, there are many instances in the Bible where, you know, God himself tells you that's not true, and the actions of God don't fit with what we have been told about God. So we'll get into that in a second. But the Bible calls Satan the god of this world. So when you go to the Garden of Eden story, Genesis, right? Remember, the serpent tells Eve that, you know, God knows once you eat off this tree, you will become as gods, knowing both good and evil. So how can you become as God, knowing good and evil? And basically you have God equating, you know, or the serpent equating God to the same level as him. You know, they're going to be like us. And God saying to the serpent, they're going to be like us, you know, knowing good and evil. So if anybody who's reading the Bible and not getting that it's esoteric and taking the book literally, you know, it's crazy. So it's clearly a lot of things that are not supposed to be taken literal or, you know, straightforward at all. And a lot of Bible believers like to jump back and forth with that as something being literal or something being, you know, a parable. But they want to clear as day believe that a woman can come from a man's rib when you will only ever see that in a book. So why would you take that literal? And we know that's just not true. So looking at that whole thing, you have Satan, the god of this world. You have the serpent saying to God or to Adam and Eve, he don't want you to eat from this tree because you know you will basically be like him, God. So calling into question monotheism in these aspects, in these references, it's definitely justified, especially since we go to the fact that what we have been told about God, the Bible tells you something completely different. Case in point, the whole Garden of Eden thing. So the whole notion, God knows all, God sees all, as it says many times in the Bible. Clearly, God didn't know the serpent was on the most important tree in existence. And he didn't know that he was talking to Adam and Eve, or he would have been able to intervene before they ate of the tree. So you have many references in the Bible to God being, you know, knowing all and seeing all. So Acts 15:18 says, known unto God are all his works from the beginning of the world. Proverbs 15:3 says, the eyes of the Lord are in every place, beholding the evil and the good. Psalms 147:5, great is our Lord, and the great power, his understanding is infinite. Job 11:11, for he knoweth vain men, he seeth wickedness also. Will he not then consider it? And my favorite one, Job 1:6. So it says, now there was a day when the sons of God came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan came unto them. It says, and the Lord said unto Satan, whence cometh thou? It's a question mark there. So causing the question, God knowing all and seeing all, when clearly he didn't see the serpent. Clearly, if he's supposed to know where evil is at all time, he should know that, you know, there was Satan. Satan was coming. Satan was on the way. But he said to Satan, you know, where the hell you come from? And it calls into question again what we have been told about the Bible. So you look at that. You look at the fact that God's supposed to know the future and know everything. He didn't know that these so-called fallen angels were supposedly coming into the daughters of men and creating these evil beings, and that everybody would become so evil that we have to kill everyone. So again, it's one of these things where we have to go and start looking at common sense stuff and understanding the difference between a story, something that's being told and conveyed to you in a parable form versus, you know, actual reality where, you know, it doesn't make sense for it to exist in reality. So another big thing I like to point out with the whole flood story, God basically drowned the world and killed everybody because he said, you know, that every thought of the imaginations of their heart was, you know, continually evil, that everybody was so evil and wicked, he had to just wipe everybody out. Now, how could you kill everybody on the planet except for Noah and his family and leave Satan alive? You know, that doesn't make sense. So you also have to think that, you know, God being all powerful, all knowing, and the serpent telling Adam and Eve, hey, he don't want you to eat off this fruit because he knows you're going to become as God. Now you're a God, you created everything, right? Created the universe, so on and so forth. God's actions after they ate the fruit was what? Kicked them out of the garden, and he put cherubims there with flaming swords and, you know, blocked them from eating from the tree of life, as if he was frightened that they would eat of the tree and become a god like him. And how is this possible? Another thing you have to understand is, Matter of fact, we'll get into that in a second. But look at that fact. And then look at the fact that, you know, he leaves Satan alive after killing everybody. You have Adam and Eve, who preachers love to point out, oh, original sin. We are born with the original sin. We are corrupted because of the actions of Adam and Eve. So if God basically, you know, says we're all inherited with this evil and everybody believes we're born evil, and you know that now because they ate of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, that their offspring is going to be born, you know, knowing good and evil. Case in point, Cain and Abel. You know, Cain kills Abel, and that's like, oh, well, he had the evil in him because of the actions of his parents. So if you're a guy and you know all, and you understand that Adam and Eve done this, why not kill them before they can reproduce and corrupt mankind?